Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. Pro Tour Magic Origins was this past weekend and I gotta say Standard is looking ridiculous. While we're here trying to figure out the best blue-red Thopter deck we can, it seems multiple pro teams got there first. This Standard deck tech is very close to the top 8 artifacts deck from the Pro Tour, but with some minor changes we'll explain in a minute. This deck does two things. First, it throws robots onto the field. Second, it blows them up in your opponent's face and kills them. This may sound simple, and you'd be right, it is simple. A stupidly aggressive strategy that may be the most fun aggro deck in the format right now. Let's start with the mana base. Playsets at Temple of Epiphany and Shivan Reef are joined by 1 Mana Confluence, 1 Foundry of the Consuls, 5 islands, 2 mountains, and a full playset of one of the all-stars of the deck, Darksteel Citadel. Yeah, it's going to be that kind of deck tech. Before we get to that though, you may have noticed the one of Foundry. Simply put, we like artifacts. We enjoy having more of them. When we're out of gas with nothing left to use our mana on, this is perfect to sacrifice for more dudes. It's exactly what we want, we just don't want too much of it, so one of. Let's begin with the reasons why this deck is good. We're running a playset of both Ghostfire Blade and Ensoul Artifact, the true win conditions of the strategy. Ghostfire Blade equips for 1 mana all the time since we're only equipping to artifacts, and Ensoul Artifact makes every gray card you play into a game-ending monster. Honestly, if you land a turn 2 Scissors, the game is probably over, especially if you put it on a Darksteel Citadel. I mean, who is playing anything that removes that? No one. At least not before you get in 10 damage. It's absolutely unreal, right? Going forward, remember that we have sets of these two cards, the Ensoul and the Blade. They are the glue that holds the deck together. Now that we have the Blade and Fire Scissors, we need to use them on stuff. We run playsets of Ornithopter, Hangarback Walker, Phyrexian Revoker, and Chief of the Foundry. Ornithopter is valuable, not only because it's an artifact, but because it has flying. Equip the Scissors or Blade and just go to town in the air, hard to fight that early game. Hangarback Walker is a menace. You play this on turn 2 as a 1-1, and then they either kill it, giving you another 1-1, but this time it's a flyer, or you can keep ticking it up, making it a huge bother for your opponent at any stage of the game. Seriously, anytime a Walker resolves, it's a headache for whoever you're playing against. They have to lose value to kill it. It's great. Oh, also, did I mention that it's hilarious with Shrapnel Blast? You can sacrifice it, deal 5 damage, you get a token out of it. Again, it oozes value. Phyrexian Revoker is a 2 mana cost artifact, already what we want. More importantly, you probably know the majority of the cards in Standard right now. The Revoker takes advantage of that knowledge. Afraid of a Perilous Vault? No problem. Want to stop their mana acceleration? Name Elvish Mystic or Sylvan Caryatid. When you know what you're playing against, at least generally, the Revoker is at its best. This meta right now, pretty good for it. Our last artifact creature, Chief of the Foundry, just makes sense. At its heart, the deck is pretty much a Thopter tribal deck. No reason not to run the Lord. It's another artifact creature, it fits on the curve easily, and it's an anthem effect that accelerates your board pressure by a lot, even with just a few Thopters in play. It's really good for what we want, and that's why it's in as a playset. We have a few other ways to create artifact creatures in case we don't have anything to put our stuff on. 3 Whirler Rogue make the cut specifically because of its activated ability. Being able to make a creature unblockable, especially one that has a Blade or Ensoul on it, is disgusting. Best part, you can tap the Ghostfire Blade to help activate it. That's just funny. Without this ability, the Rogue wouldn't be nearly as useful and definitely wouldn't make the cut for the deck. With that ability, instant include. The 2 1/1 Thopters it brings with it, enabling you to activate its ability immediately, are just gravy. The last 2 creatures in the deck are a pair of Pia and Kiran Nalaar. There were a few different directions this artifact deck could go in, one with Pia and one without. I love this card. It has to be in our version. It shares the 4-drop slot with the Rogue, and it also brings in 2 Thopters. What makes it amazing is that ability can help close out games. You have a stalemate, Pia and Kiran will start blowing stuff up until the stalemate's broken. You have a few ways to break through a tough line of defense. This is one of them. The card requires an immediate answer because if there is no answer and you get to untap, I feel bad for the opponent. That ability is bonkers good. Next up, we have 3 Springleaf Drum, the last of our artifacts. Simply put, sometimes we need more mana. Also, we need targets for the Fire Scissors. Remember, they can go on anything. This drum, that Darksteel Citadel, that Ghostfire Blade if you're desperate, my toaster oven downstairs, just anything. So flexible. What were we talking about? The last cards in the deck are a playset of Shrapnel Blast and 3 Stubborn Denial. Shrapnel Blast is basically your finisher. Get your opponent to 5 life and dome them by blowing up one of your artifacts. Or get them to 10 life and blast them twice. The card has stellar reach and is easily one of the best rewards for playing this kind of deck. Stubborn Denial, while being in one of the top 8 lists, is staying in ours because honestly, the metagame is going to shift a little bit going forward. Players will know about this deck now. Stubborn Denial is now valuable mainboard hate against an undoubtedly increased amount of Kolaghan's Command, Smash to Smithereens, Scouring Sands, this goes on and on. Stubborn Denial is just a great buffer to a lot of incoming hate. Now that you've seen the whole deck, pretty simple, right? This is your plan. Get an opening hand with an Ensoul Artifact or Ghostfire Blade, preferably Ensoul since you don't necessarily need a creature that way. Make sure to have at least one threat in your hand. Any creature will do, or anything you can Ensoul. Get it down fast, equip it, and swing. Basically, you just keep doing this until the game is over. Drop your stuff, hit for as much as you can, Shrapnel Blast to finish. Because your deck is so cheap, you'll be board vomiting more than most strategies. Just go nuts. This is a very Izzet deck. You throw robots around and blow them up. This is the dream for all of you, right? I mentioned before that the hate for this strategy will increase now that it's visible. We have to be ready for that. The best card on your sideboard will be Disdainful Stroke. This comes in against any big decks you find yourself against. Green-Red Devotion, Obzan, Control, anything that isn't trying to punch you in the face by turn 2. Their big drops are scary and you don't want to use your removal against them. Counters are important. That having been said, you should also sideboard Negates. Great against Control, heavy hand disruption strategies, even burn decks if you have to. Next up, we have Roast. You should probably auto-run 4 of these. It kills Siege Rhino, Tassiger, Pelucranos, Courser, you get the point. This is an absolute must-play out of the board. The last card you have to 100% run out of the board is Thopter Spy Network. You will find yourself in grindy matchups, games that take way too long. You don't like long games. Thopter Spy Network helps your deck survive against those attrition-heavy strategies. Having even a Darksteel Citadel in play enables this to create threats every turn. It's invaluable in the slow matchups. Gotta have it. Past that, we're about to see a shuffling up of the standard meta, at least to some degree. Hopefully this deck sticks around and we see a few more months of Scissors Enchanted Darksteel Citadels. It's a gross combo. Anywho, let me know what you think about the deck in the comments. Are you excited to see it succeed? I know I was. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, leave them below and we'll talk about it. Any questions about the deck, same thing. I'll be around to help. I really like the strategy. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Wow.